It's good. Macchiato. What's up, Team KBA? One Tech Traveler here. This is Last Shelter, and you're tuning in to Season 5, Week 3. It's been a very busy couple of weeks on the hero front, just getting all of the videos out to you. And we've got another drop. This is the third and the first of the small heroes that we are going to deep dive in, check out, and see whether this is a drop that is right for you, however you are pulling your super tickets or strategizing or just maximizing your chances of getting particular heroes. We can see here we have Scarlet Siren on the front. These are the four sort of featured on the graphics. Again, really nice job on the visual, so keep it up, Last Shelter devs. We also have Valkyrie in the back, Heaven's Redemption and Wrath. And I mentioned that this is one of the small pools, and you can see we have a total of 6. So we actually have 2 fighters, 2 vehicles, and 2 shooters. The 2 fighters are Scarlet Siren and Iron Sentinel. The vehicles, Wrath and Heaven's Redemption. And finally, shooters, the Betrayed and Valkyrie. And like in the previous 2 large hero drops for SX heroes, I like to do the rating for fighters, shooters, heroes, the quality of them, and then the overall group quality. In this pool, I like to say vehicles have the strongest pairing of heroes that you can chance. Then it's fighters, and then finally it's the shooters. Overall quality is going to be around a 7, so it's kind of a balance, really depending on your chances and your RNG probabilities. But we're going to dive into them and then also talk about different strategies. There are 2 top picks, I will say, from this drop. It is Scarlet Siren and Wrath, and then the highly rated heroes will be Heaven's Redemption, while we have the remaining 3 as solid additions to your APC, which is Iron Sentinel, the Betrayed and Valkyrie. Okay, so overall, should you be dropping your tickets in hero drop 3? That will depend. If you dropped some tickets in any of the large hero pools, the first one and the second one, and got any of these particular heroes. Now remember, there are smaller hero drops that are coming every week, but these heroes will only appear in this particular week. So if you don't drop your tickets here, you will have to wait next season. But it really depends on your ticket situation, whether it makes sense to, or you're playing more of the longer game. Of course, Wrath and Siren, if you have any of them, then it'll be a great one to dive into. Even Heaven's Redemption, those are like solid ones that you can definitely build top formations and APCs around. And the less ideal pickups like Iron Sentinel, Betrayed and Valkyrie are still going to be solid as well. So if you want to chance it, you could. For vehicles, they are more support heroes. For Siren, she's more offensive, so you need to think for your own APCs where you're lacking. If it is more of the supports in the mid, possibly the front row, or you want that damage dealer, then yeah, you need to kind of think about that. If you don't have any of these heroes, of course, give it a hard pass. Very easy to just ignore if you just don't have these heroes. If you have a healthy stack, or if you're thinking more formation wise, like with Wrath, and maybe you pulled Kamikaze in the first pull and you have like Death Rider, all those, that is kind of the combination you are going for. You could try 1 or 2, or just have him as the support that you build everyone else around. Similar with Siren, if you already have a solid fighter formation that needs that top tier back row, or if you are looking to build a formation, whether that's Glutton, Canoness, maybe you already have Tech Priestess or Venom Walker, then you can also build that too. Granted, you could get Iron Sentinel, so it might not be the best pick. And then finally, for shooters, we've already seen in the larger pools, the best picks would be the Nomad. For Valkyries, but if you did go into the larger pool and you picked up Patriot, he would be the one that you would pair with. She wouldn't be the top pick, as I mentioned, by rating to go into this pool. So unless you're happy to have her and you can see her slide into your APCs while going for the other stronger heroes. Similar with Heaven's Redemption, if you already have your front and your back row and looking to build your mid row options. But yeah, if you're not doing it this season, it's going to be next. So the choice is yours. So Siren is a excellent back row offensive glass cannon for fighters, and she's got quite a few special traits about her that makes her stand out among the rest. Firstly, when it comes to back row fighter heroes, there's not really many options, and it's kind of the weaker side of the fighter setup. They have a lot of great healing heroes for the front and the mid, but not so much on the offensive for the back. Siren is pretty much the one that blows that away. The only alternative would be like Lone Wolf, but there's such a big difference between them two that Siren is going to really be that strong fighter back row. She's also kind of a combination of Iron Guard from the legendary heroes and also And the Knight from season 2, and we can see that in her skill set. This skill is going to activate every turn. It is a combat silence or suppression counter that can reach the back row. Then that might affect the number of turns that she actually pulls them off, but without that, she's guaranteed to hit this every turn. It deals 100% damage, which isn't so much to the front row. However, it's that 40% chance to deal 500% damage to the enemy squad with the lowest troops that really makes this skill great, very akin to Iron Guard. We have another combat skill, Chain Explosion, which is where I kind of see similarity to And the Knight. Even though there is a 1-turn prep, she can attack 5 times, 40% chance, so it's pretty good, and she deals 150% damage per each of those attacks. That's kind of where the similarities ends with the Knight, because she also applies a 65% chance of a status effect depending on the type of troop she's up against and hitting. So disarm for shooters, silence for fighters and vehicles, and it can stack up to 2 times. Her awakening is a plus 15 damage, as you'd expect for the back row. And then finally, Wave the Flame, which has an effective range of 6. Very important that, because you can clearly see she is also going to be that counter to Nomad. He also has a +1 to his placement, so this is still going to be able to reach him. This is a prep skill, so it's already activated from the start of battle, and there are 3 set turns that she applies a burning status, dealing 150% damage on each turn. The gaining 35% countering against vehicles is pretty decent, but the great one here also to the burning status is all allied squads deal plus 50% skill damage against burning targets. So kind of that executioner S2 hero, a fusion of many different elements of other heroes, and that's what makes her, in this particular drop, she is a top pull, and just as a hero she is excellent. Next one up, the other top pick is Wrath. So he is a very unique type of vehicle hero, the one of his kind. You can kind of interchange him from the front and the mid, but his best placement is going to be in the mid. There are 2 unique elements to the Wrath which makes him a top pick. Reflective armor. Every time any of your squads receive a damage, that contributes to his reflective armor stack. Once it hits the 9, damage going towards your friendly squad will be reflected back to them. There's a 30% chance that you can skip that 9 stacking straight after and you can reflect it back again. Kind of is like an evolved form of a counter, similar to Confusion. His Shattering Fist is a contribution to that, so it's guaranteed every turn. It hits all enemy squads, and 20% of the number is going to hit all of your friendly squads, but that counts to the reflective armor charge and allows it to pop off quicker. Arguably could be his strongest trait is Thunder Fury, an anti-troop healing counter. Now it reduces both the enemy and friendly healing by 25%, but from turn 4 it increases the amount of troop block to the enemy 15% per turn. That is stackable, and by the end of the battle there's 100% block, so it completely blocks any kind of healing towards the end of battle, gets stronger as we go. Great counters and a nice support hero, makes him my top pick in this drop. Next up we have Heaven's Redemption in the highly rated line. He's also interchangeable in the front and the mid depending on your heroes, but you'd most likely want to put him in the mid row. He's that support hero, very different to Wrath. Provides some counter like silencing 40%, which is a good rate. Healing recovery, more than half the time it will trigger and is a combat skill, so it can be countered, but when it does, 84% recovery is very good. It also removes debuffs to any of the 2 friendly squads, works great, similar to S3 Major Honor. And then finally, Emergency Evacuation is going to apply that evasion status. It's only 30% chance, but when it does apply, there's a high 60% chance of entering evasion status for the next 3 damages, both troop attacks and combat skills. And then we've also got a healthy 47% might and resistance increase for 2 turns. So you can see he's very much a strong support hero, combination of healing, counters with silencing, and then also providing some buffs to your friendly with that evasion status and stats increase. There's not much synergy between Heaven's Redemption and Wrath, so you kind of use them in different APCs, but it's going to add some depth to the rest of your APCs for your vehicle combinations. So that is the highly rated. And then finally we have the 3 here, which are going to be solid heroes, not the best or top tier, but still usable in their respective positions and even some unique situations. So let's start off with Iron Sentinel. He is a support fighter hero. You'd primarily want him in the front row. He's going to be akin to Viscount in S2, but also has very stiff competition in that position when we look at Tech Priestess, Glutton, and Canoness. He has different skills and offerings compared to them, but they are super strong, but it's kind of why he's down the pecking order. He has 3 different protocols. So Vanguard protocol, he essentially siphons some of the stats from the enemy to apply to your friendly squad. So the amount of damage that they deal, the amount of damage received goes down, the combat speed, and that's sort of activated every turn. It is a combat skill, so it can be countered, which means those stats aren't always going to be applied every turn. But to be honest, the numbers aren't that great. You can see it's pretty minimal and insignificant, I would say, in the grand scheme of overall damage. So hard to quantify, but by numbers, they're not that high. Skill 5, Suppression Protocol. Starting turn 4, there's a 70% chance to make 2 enemy squads not recover troops and reduce damage taken by 25% to squads. So this one is pretty good. It's an anti-troop recovery block. It works more towards the mid-row, so it works more towards the mid-turn of the battle and applies a decent damage damage reduction to friendlies by 25%. And when you're up against very high healing APCs or just healing in general, this is where he comes into play. It's definitely one of the strong of his skills. He has a plus 15% HP as that tanky front row. Upgrade protocol. The first 3 turns, they give 2 random friendly squads 7% increased damage, which is stackable until the end of battle. So by the end of it, there's a 32% increased damage. Pretty decent amounts, and the fact it's over 2 friendly squads makes it much more better. And then from turn 4, splash status is granted. Basic attacks will deal 40% damage to 2 enemy squads in the back until the end of battle. So when it's hitting the front, it's going to splash towards the back, pretty much the same as S2's Panther. It has a low damage, so the overall damage output is not going to be high, but it will accumulate, and from turn 4 it's not bad as well. So you can see Iron Sentinel is more of a combination of things that adds and creates his value rather than having particularly strong skills. And he doesn't do any healing, which is kind of what makes him not as competitive compared to the other fighter heroes, and is why he's still a solid addition if you don't have any alternatives. But there are definitely stronger fighter heroes out there. Next one up is the Betrayed. He's a shooter hero. Ideally, you'd place him in the mid row, and he's got some good arsenal in his skill set, variety of support, offensive, and buffs. Deals a nice damage of 641 to 2 random enemy squads, so 1280%. Great. His squad and also your back row squad get an increased damage by 40%, so for the next 2 attacks, which is nice. It's only the next 2 attacks, which if it's a troop attack or combat skill, it's still useful. Just would have been nicer if it was actually for 2 turns to make that skill more stronger than it is. But you can see he has the option of being in the back row that will give him a double damage buff of 80%. So that is very high. It lasts 2 turns. total of 4 attacks. It adds a bit more versatility to him, and then an option in the mid. But that skill is particularly strong of the Betrayed. Where he becomes a bit more difficult is his skill 8, where he's just got that, where he's got a chance of the range of skills he could apply, and that can change his overall performance. So for example, restore some troops 100%, great. We also have a might resistance tactical resistance increased by 60%, which is also very high. I would say more on the tactical might side, which is also very good, and then damage taken decrease by 40%. So that is very good. It just depends on what skill you're going to get. And it looks like whatever that skill is applied, it's going to be for the rest of battle. So it really is like rolling the dice and seeing whatever status effect he applies. But pretty versatile, gives you a little bit more options on your shooters, just not one of the best, whether that's in the mid or the back row for shooters. And then finally we have Valkyrie. I like Valkyrie, but again, she's a very specific and niche type of hero, but you can use her in instances where her skills will play out well. So she would mainly be used in the front row, and she's very much front loaded to the first 3 turns. A lot of like damage buffs to herself and others with just straight up damage increase. But once those 3 turns are gone, then she's far less effective, and is kind of a hero in the front row you don't mind losing out in a battle because her skills are kind of done. Here she'll allow 2 random friendly squads to move first, so wherever the combat speed is, and generally shooters have lower combat speed, she'll still allow them to be first priority to hit their skills off first, which could make a difference. And then on the second turn, she'll deal 680% damage to the enemy squads as well. So again, very healthy, 1374%. Similar to Wings of Liberty, where he would apply an automatic disarm in the first 2 turns, even Executioner with her damage reduction on the first turn, and then a guaranteed damage on the second turn. Next one up, first 3 turns, just a straight up 50% additional damage that random enemies will take, up to 2 of them. Starts at the turn of battle, and yeah, any damage front loaded from your APC, they're going to take 50% more. So really nice damage output there. And then finally, skill 8, for the first 3 turns, 2 random friendly shooters deal 50% additional damage. So if you have her and at least her skill 8, you ideally also want her awakening open because she is a front row. So once you have the skill 8 open, that's basically plus 100% damage increase for the first 3 turns. So very nice, but super front loaded, very different to Deus Ex. In S4, enemy like debuffs, and then also the Crochet, which is just a combination shooter. So thanks a lot for joining me in this Hero Drop 3 video. Let me know in the comments if you decide to drop in it, how many tickets and which heroes you got. It's great to talk with many of you that have been messaging me either directly or on Reddit and on my YouTube videos, just the kind of pulls you were having. Old Alliance buddies message that he pulled Wrath and Siren in a ticket pool, which was awesome. So again, if you have plenty of tickets, you're going to give yourself the best possible chance. But that's Hero Drop 3. Thanks a lot for joining me, Team KBA. Like always, check out my SX recruitment timeline for season 5, as well as my tech, travel and gear articles that you might find interesting at onetechtraveler.com. And if you haven't yet already, join the Team KB community by subscribing to my YouTube channel down below. I'll see you in the next one, but until then, keep it awesome. Peace.